Hello, figments of my imagination. So the Alpha Roadmap / AMA stream was this Friday, and for once it kinda delivered. The roadmap part at least, not really the AMA, but I'll talk about that later. Steven was also pretty active on Reddit and Discord this weekend, so I waited to collect that info as well before posting this video. And it's a good thing I did, as he gave a few corrections and clarifications. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start with the roadmap. The very first thing they announced was that the date for Alpha 2 is October 25th. The very second thing they announced is that we only get it for 3 days. 3 days a week. That's right, they have decided that Alpha 2 will roll out in phases, and the first phase is availability Friday through Sunday. That lasts until October 20th, when Phase 2 starts and testing moves to a 5-day schedule, with Wednesday and Thursday being the off days. Finally, Phase 3 starts May 1st, 2025, and that phase is 24/7 uptime, unless something goes wrong or they push an update or whatever. Steven said obviously wipes will happen, and probably pretty frequently, at least during the first 2 phases. The stated goal is for no wipes to happen once Phase 3 is reached, but Steven said they will still do them if needed. Each phase also comes with its own features, which for Phase 1 and 2 act as a sort of checklist of things that need to be done before moving on to the next phase. For Phase 3, Steven said it's more of a glance at early features they hope to have available, as the last phase will probably be very long and include much more content over time. I'm showing the screenshots of the feature list now because there's a lot of stuff to list. Feel free to pause to check them out and ask any questions you have in the comments. I know what most of the stuff is at this point. One thing I will note is the newly announced Lawless Zones. These are areas of the map where players will be auto-flagged for PvP. Steven clarified over Discord that this area is only for the alpha and is a stand-in for testing the open seas, which is the auto-flagging PvP zone we already knew about. The update schedule they proposed is a minor release every 3 weeks that mostly contains balancing and bug fixing, with a major version coming every 6 weeks that introduces new content. Hot fixes can and will happen whenever needed, obviously. And for the final, and apparently most controversial, topic of the roadmap, a second chance at Alpha 2 keys. Steven mentioned before that they'd be offering more slots for the Alpha 2 test by way of direct key sales, and we got the details here. A few important things to note. Any key gives you access for every phase after the date it starts. You do not need to buy all 3, or any more than 1 for that matter. Also important to note is that, contrary to what they said in the stream, the alpha keys will also grant beta access. This was clearly a response to the massive amount of backlash they were getting on social media after the stream, and is certainly a good change. Also, they mentioned early on that only NA and EU West servers will be available for alpha, so if you live outside those regions, be prepared for massive lag. I know plenty of people are surprised or annoyed by the price to essentially test a game for Intrepid, but the reality is people are willing to pay it. That's the only reason I forked over almost $400 3 years ago. The game looks interesting, and I wanted to play it as soon as possible, even if it was a giant mess. I believe in the company and the design philosophy, and that's something people are willing to pay a lot more for than just another soulless AAA game. That being said, just like Steven has said many times, Alpha 2 is not a game, it's a test, so don't buy a key if you aren't prepared for that reality. If you are still interested, they go on sale this Wednesday, August 21st at 11 a.m. Pacific, and my link and code are in the description as always. Now with the roadmap done, they moved on to the AMA portion, which was pretty useless. And the more I thought about it, the more I was annoyed. Intrepid screens the AMA questions days before the actual stream, so why were there so many questions included that were already answered by the roadmap? Why not filter those out, considering the community team should know what info is in the stream? Throughout the entire segment, the only new information we got was that the game will now be rated M instead of T, dueling will be a Phase 3 feature for some reason, and the company as a whole is down about $60 million. Yeah, you heard me right, but the lights are still on, so either they have some generous private investors or Steven is some sort of secret crypto millionaire, and based on his emphasis on having a, quote, significant personal interest on the success of Ashes, I'd say it's probably the latter. And personally, I think that's a good thing, actually. If Steven really is that personally invested and has still waited all these years without pushing out an unfinished product, that shows his devotion to the craft. And that's it. I'm still a little annoyed about the 1-month delay, but I'm sure I'll get over it when I'm booting up that client in October. The next stream is only 2 weeks away and should feature some raid content, so that's nice. Do YouTube stuff if you want, or don't, and I'll see you all eventually.